everyone. How are you feeling today? Yeah? How is the energy? I need energy. Thank you. This is one of the first on-stage, all-alone talks that I'm giving after COVID, so can you just stand up for a second? I just need to see you all, and just are you standing alone by any chance? Move and stand next to someone else. You will need to do this later on. So just move around, look at your neighbor, and just make sure you're not your own island. I want to see you next to that person. Okay? Yeah? And it's already 14 minutes. I have given them one of the most challenging thing to do, which is talk about something. Oh yeah, you can sit down now, sorry. Yeah. So I'm supposed to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, and I've given now 14 minutes, going 13. So I'm just gonna do my best, which is basically talk about where are we today, what the world looks like, what do we need to do to save it, kind of, because we all know that we need to save it, and also what do we need to saving it, and what are we actually doing to do that. So a lot squeezed in 13 minutes. Let's go. Nina Shariati, if you have any questions later on, Instagram is the best way to contact me. Yeah, I can see it there. Okay, so our planet. This is our planet. This is our home. This is where we live. This is the only place where we can breathe and live. Do you agree with me? Are you alive? Yes. This is an amazing place where we thrive extremely well. So what do we know about this place? Oh, so you use the PDF format. This is going to be a bit challenging. This is not the PowerPoint presentation. So all the animation will just come at once. Okay, let's do this. So what do we know about the planet? As you can see, the answers up there, we are 7.9 billion people. And honestly, I got really surprised when I figured this out just a couple of days ago, because when I started giving these lectures, in 2017, we were 7.5 billion people. So we are doing pretty well on this earth if we are becoming that many that fast in such a short period of time. We speak something around 7,100 different languages, right? Culture-wise, it's difficult to measure, but somewhere around 3,800 plus different cultures exist at once on this blue planet. It has been around for 4.5 billion years. It has survived 5 mass extinctions, and we are currently entering the 6th one. This is a fact, we know it. And there's somewhere around 1 million species that are currently at risk that we see. We don't really know how fast this is going to develop, because it's kind of like a game of, how do you say it, Jenga. Yeah, Jenga. When you remove one piece, you don't know if your tower will stand or if it will collapse, right? But it's happening, and it's happening rapidly. And one thing we know is that this planet will survive whether or not we are on it or not. Fun news. And the way that we are consuming, living, using our resources is putting a lot of pressure on this planet. Currently, the estimation is that by 2030, we are expected to have 2 planets for us to just have somewhere to live, consume the way we do, and eat the things that we like. Increase of population, increase of middle class, lack of resources. And by 2050, we'll need to have 3 planets, and we know that's not going to happen, right? And all this is actually pressuring the planet even more negatively, which is that we are literally changing the climate to the worse. The climate change, you're aware of it. IPCC came out with a report saying that we have actually passed point of taking action on a couple of parameters, but it's not too late if we act now. If we act now, we have somewhere around 9 years to make sure we reach the net zero. And there are actually calculations done in terms of what we actually need to invest to get there. What do we need to invest to get to that net zero? And that is that we need to invest somewhere around $125 trillion in the coming 10 years to make that happen, to make sure we create a planet for ourselves where we can survive. That's what it's about, us surviving. And looking closer to this 125 trillion number, it is also seen that the areas that the investment needs to go to is places like Southeast Asia, China and India being part of that. Of course, Europe and US, but also Africa and South America needs to take a greater investment that it has done earlier. And for this, we need disruption, because the current system is not working. Current system that has led us to where we are is not working. So we need some type of innovation, but also disruptive innovation. And we need it everywhere. We need it for every single thing that we are doing. We need to figure out a new way of doing it better, where we take the planet and people in that calculation. And for that, one of the most important parameters to achieving that disruptive innovation is identified to be diversity. And with diversity, what do I mean then? Here, one aspect of it is very, very much connected to diversity of cognitive diversity. But looking closer to it, when we are looking at diversity, it's quite tricky, right? It's how we become different. And there are parts of it which is visible in terms of hair color, eye color, language, like the visible things that you see. But then there's also the parts that are below the surface that you don't know of. Sexual orientation, that's not always obvious, like your beliefs, your values, etc. And diversity is considered being like different in different countries. What makes a country diverse is very unique and very individual. But also we can see that that's becoming more and more complex, because we see that there are subgroups that are being created, subcultures that are being created, very much thanks to the digitalization, thanks to the social media, etc., which makes it even harder to cover all the different themes, cover all the different ways a group or a person can be diverse. But there are things that we know, that there are certain groups that are being marginalized. Generally, it's women that are being marginalized in having access to capital, access to having jobs, equal opportunities. But there are also other groups. I can give you an example. Immigration population is normally marginalized. People with different ethnic background, whatever that would be, relevant to that country. And this list goes on. And one group that is coming up more and more is also like elderly group, which is being neglected out of society. It's a very youth-orientated society. Everyone is pretty, everyone is young, and somewhere after 40, 50, people just disappear. You don't see them in the workforce, you don't see them. There seems to not be any space for that group, which isn't important because we are getting older, we are aging, and we are living longer and longer. Oh shit, 5 minutes. Okay. But important thing is that you can't do this only with diversity in mind. You need to have inclusion and equity. So what is inclusion? So diversity is just putting 5 people from 5 different nationalities in one room. Inclusion is when only one person gets to speak and everyone is just a ticking box on a chart, and that person makes the decision. You need to create a society, a forum, where everyone is giving the equal opportunity to take that space. And equity is basically the framework that helps you create that equal opportunity, so that you don't have discrimination when you recruit, you don't have discrimination when choosing and picking, etc. And looking at, does this actually work? And the answer is yes. Diverse group where the inclusion is very relevant, it does work, and it gives somewhere around 30% better outcome when you have a diverse group where inclusivity is also applied. And then the question is, why is this not happening then? If this would have been such an amazing, a great approach to solving a problem, increasing your profit or finding new solution, why are we not seeing that more? And a simple answer it is, if I would have had time, I would have asked the audience, is that it's amazing to be in a homogenic group. It feels great to be around people that thinks like you, talks like you, dress like you, understand you, or at least you think they understand you before you even like open your mouth. It makes us feel great when we are like similar, right? But the outcomes are not great. And that's something I think everyone needs to bring with them moving from this room. That if you're in a group and it's going slower and it's a bit tension, then you're onto something. That's where creativity starts. And that's maybe not something that is being promoted in a startup. It should be fast mover and crash and blah, blah, blah. But actually, when it's a bit slower and a bit trickier, that's where proper creativity happens. And looking into diversity and inclusion and where it fits, I mean, you can make a business case that it could fit everywhere, but if we are to niche in certain areas where you should actually think twice in towards your team, whether or not you have cognitive diversity, and these are the biggest impact areas. So the areas that you can benefit from having diverse teams working together is when you're launching a new product. How many of you in this room are doing that? How many startups are in here? Raise of hand. No one? A couple of you. So a new product, or even like when you troubleshoot that product later on. That's where you need a diverse team who can see it from a different angle and really do a risk assessment. When planning for future is really tricky to foresee right now with everything that is happening. But the more different perspective you have in the room, that becomes easier. But also when responding to crisis, such as COVID, such as a lot of things that are happening in the world. Looping back into this $125 trillion that it needs to be invested, and really looking into where the money is going right now. I don't know if you can see this very well. The red one is basically showing you the amount of white male on the CEO leadership of Fortune 500, which is 90%, almost. Around 7% is white female, and there is others in the end. And on my left side, it's where the venture capital is divided when it comes to tech, where we tend to invest in tech, where the money is going right now. Where you can see Silicon Valley is very purple. They basically have equally or larger amount of investment, venture capital than the whole Europe has. And if you then look at where I said we needed to have investment and focus on Southeast Asia, Africa, and South America. What do you take away from this graph? And what do you take away from what I said with what do you need when coming up with new solutions? What we are basically saying is that we believe that very limited group of everyone on this planet, 7,500 different languages, 3,500 different cultures, and all the things that makes us unique, fun, and diverse, we believe that a very narrow group, that white candy in the middle, has the solution. And ironically enough, that was also the group that led us here. That was our approach in coming up with the solution we have right now that is not working very well. And that's it now. Can I get a few more minutes? I promise to leave in a few more minutes. So with that said, I want to can you all just take 1 minute and talk to the person next to you? And I want you to take that 1 minute, truthfully, promise me, I have no more time, 1 minute, to talk about how can you, in this room, do something different when you leave this room to kind of help challenge this so that it becomes more like this. Can you do that for me, starting now? Please, go ahead. Varsågod in Swedish. I can see you. I can see who's not talking. I can see a lot of conversation happening, and that 1 minute is past right now. So I would, the conversation is happening in certain areas. I like that. So just to bring back your attention to me, the lady in pink on stage, is that for our survival, we need to collaboratively take responsibility. Diversity and inclusion is nothing that will happen somewhere else. It's not going to be someone else's responsibility, and everyone is affected one way or another. We all felt it. We all felt excluded at some point in time. So the question is, how can we innovatively come up with solutions where we can tap into the full potential that is the human race? That was it. That was it for me. Thank you.